Hey everybody, what's going on? Dace here, and today we are taking a look at my Batsugun 1cc of the original version, not special mode, but I do plan on commentating that clear because I did that like the night of or the day after, whatever it was. So this clear is actually like my first Batsugun clear, and it's from a little while ago already. I just haven't gotten around to banging out these chats. But I am excited to share it because for those who listen to or watch the guide video that I put together for like the super specific breakdown of how to clear this mode, and in relation to some of the things I talked about in one of the Copy and Shmups episodes, I think the second last one, or maybe the last one, there were a whole bunch of details relating to this experience specifically, so I won't be repeating myself so much by going over all of that stuff. There might be a few things here and there, but for the most part I will just kind of focus on the run itself and just what happens as we go. But one thing I will say though is that of course this run is based on the method that I formulated, so the whole idea is like no life loss, no bombs used in stage 1, a single bomb used in stage 2 for the boss, and then stage 3 is like intended to be no bombs used whatsoever and no lives lost. Of course, if you recall, I do fumble one in stage 3 from something something really silly, and because of that I kind of pushed myself in a direction of saying like, okay, you know what, because of this ridiculous error I just made, I'm going to demand so much more of myself going into stage 4. So a few of the risky sections where I might normally bomb, I'm just not allowing myself. That was kind of like just what I decided, just to kind of like make it up to myself for something so silly. So yeah, this ended up being a wild run, like one of those edge of the seat sort of finishers, which of course we'll get to. Like the run isn't very long, and some of the other things that I've mentioned before were like reasons as to why the game took me so long to clear, just like time constraints that I won't get into again, and just like constantly increasing the demands. Like every time I would progress, I would start demanding of myself to do more and more, and just really get things super tight and super just as solid as you can imagine. In theory anyway, I at least wanted to like just have everything as rock solid as possible, and I loved it. It was just a wild time. It was a time of huge learning, and it was good times. Like for instance, that maneuver right there for the right-sided wing, I remember the first few nights that I was playing this game, I knew what to do, but for whatever reason I was always fumbling that attack where it like spins around, and it kind of got to the point where I was like, okay, like do I want to completely come up with some other way to deal with it, or like do I just, like I wasn't sure. Like I was doing all these different ideas because it was so simple, and yet it would claim lives like you wouldn't believe for whatever reason. And then eventually, as time went, I just adjusted more and more, and I just got really solid at that part, and it just didn't trip me up anymore. So it was really cool to see that. I love stage 3. It is such a blast. Excuse me. I just love the flow of the enemy waves, the pacing of everything here, just the enemy variety too. Literally everything about this stage is perfect, and I just love how, like stages 1 and 2, they don't really throw too much at you. Like obviously the stage 2 boss is where you start to feel some actual pressure, quite a bit actually, compared to a lot of games. But I think in this stage here, like this part right here, like learning how to do that without bombs and taking hits, that took a little while. And even when I did know what to do, it was one of those situations where you'd still fumble it because you're still kind of just getting used to the knowledge and like what you've kind of like come up with in your mind. But yeah, it's just such a blast of a stage. And what's interesting too, like there are a lot of interesting things from this experience in general, was the fact that like the stage 4 boss took next to no time to figure out how to do that with like only using two bombs for the very last attack. Or yeah, I think I said the stage 4 boss, like the big airship one. Whereas this, like even long after I had the stage 4 boss down, this boss here in stage 3 was still giving me trouble. And like that right there, that was so silly. That was one of those things like that never happens in practice. And in most runs, that's not where I would usually take a hit if I was going to take a hit in here. Normally it's after all these other sections like blow apart, like right here, because this took a little getting used to as well. But I one thing that really helped was just getting really aggressive with my maneuvering, just like swinging hard to the one side through gaps and that sort of thing. So yeah, because I took that hit, I was not going to resort to like bombing or anything. I was like, no, I'm just gonna stick with my whole not bombing, even though I took a hit here. But yeah, that was a boss that certainly took a fair amount of figuring out. Just to, like, in practice, I mean, to get it to a point where I was consistent, or more consistent, for no bomb, no miss. For that whole stage, rather. This stage 4 is a wicked experience as well. Like, pretty much every stage is really cool. Like, not too much happens in the first one, of course. But in stages 3 and 4, I feel like that's when the run really comes alive. Where there's just such just a heavy dose of challenge and figuring things out. And some pretty intense surprises when you're playing the game for the first time. Like when we come to the halfway boss. Actually, no, we got like a whole bunch of like midway bosses. Like here's one sort of, not that these guys last long, but they're still, I consider them like more than just enemies. They're huge ships that take a little bit to bring down, but yeah. But I just love collecting the gold. But yeah, this was a really, really fun stage to learn too. But like, it's crazy though. Like I cannot get over how much this stage throws at you. Like even like double or triple what stage 3 unleashes, that is for sure. Like it's just relentless in here. It's just over the top. Now this guy here, this guy is a beast. It didn't take me, I think it was like maybe the first night I played, I was like just experimenting with stuff, and it didn't take long to figure out what to do. But getting this consistent, that was like a tricky thing. And even with the consistency, it was still sometimes I would still get clipped by like that attack right there that we just saw. But like I said, I was determined to just not bomb in this stage, except for like I think one of the last things before the boss, and then of course the 2 bombs for the very final attack. Sometimes if I sensed that it was taking longer to bring it down, like right at the end, then I would use a 3rd bomb, because I'm not going to risk losing life and all the bombs with it. Yeah, I think it was something silly I didn't need to bomb through, but I didn't want to take a chance. And learning that part and getting that tight without needing to like fly all over the place, that I would fumble here sometimes for sure, because it is a very dangerous approach. the first time I ever saw this, like just how quickly stuff is crisscrossing and all over the place. This was just one of those sections where you're just like, oh man, like how am I even going to begin figuring out what to do? But like many other times, after 5 minutes of just sitting with the game and seeing what's happening and paying attention to like the timing and that kind of stuff, I very quickly realized that it was there was a very simple approach to dealing with this boss. And so that was like a huge turning point too, in terms of just seeing the potential for clearing it. And that's the stop and go method that I'm using, where the only thing I'm paying attention to is the yellow shot that just goes straight down. Everything else is just sticking to a set time, and that's it. But I just love how, like, sometimes a whole stage will be one giant boss in some games, but I love how in Batsugun you have like stage 4, it's like just this endless amount of like huge ships, deadly attacks, and all this stuff, and then after all of that craziness, you have this massive ship that you gotta take the whole thing down chunk by chunk. It is stellar. Yeah, this game is so fun. Yeah, and I think I used like an extra one there just to play it safe. And we're already at one stage left. Wow. So this one, I had like a rough idea as to what to do, but it's not like I had put the same level of time and energy into this one, mainly because like that's like I love when I am so into a game that I put just as much time into it, but like for the most part, like the bulk of the journey will just be like the stage 2 boss, stage 3, the stage 4, that kind of stuff. Whereas when it comes to like the final stage of a game, usually it'll either be so challenging that you will play it long enough and just really bang it out, or you will just happen to clear it before you even really realize that you're going to, and then it's like, oh well, okay, I did it, even though I was committed to just continuing to learn as I went. But it's usually like one or the other. But the thing is, like, if I'm ever going to go for like a no miss, which I could based on the routing that I formulated and used to like or like shared in the guide video that I did, then that's where like really nailing this stage will be absolutely mandatory. Because since I'm not using the like the altered like settings to have like a much more powerful shot where you have like 10 times the firepower coming out or whatever it is, the final boss does take like a full 7 bombs just with like the bare minimum fire rate or whatever that I have here. So I think there are some fumbles here and there. I think most of the hits I take are actually in the final boss, from what I recall. I just love all this score. Yeah, I didn't want to risk anything there, so I just bombed. And one thing I will say, during my runs and like the practice and all this kind of stuff leading up to this clear, I was starting to see greater consistency in terms of getting to stage 5 without having taken a hit the whole run and only using the minimal bombs that I had planned like for the route. So that was really cool. So I knew I was getting close. I knew it was... I wouldn't say like I felt like, oh, it's one run away and then I'm going to clear it. It was kind of just like, it could be any day now. I had a few that were so close. There was even one run where I went into the final boss with enough resources to do the whole 7 bomb like spamming thing and then you're done. But at the time I didn't even know about that, like the positioning and whatnot. Otherwise that would have been it like much earlier. So here, like, I know I don't have 7 bombs, but like I'm at least going to start the process to get in as much damage as I can. And then I'll just get like right back up there and just continue. Because at this point it's like, well, yeah, there's definitely potential here. So yeah, just like taking silly hits because it's like, okay, well this could be it. So I'm just gonna like go to town and just do my best to pull through. Even though it's not like the cleanest or the most, yeah, well put together. But yeah, that's that. So yeah, that's Batsugun. Really fun game. It's one that you can take what you've learned from this version, and if you jump into special version, you will have a much easier time. Because like, yeah, you get all of the those opportunities with like the pigs to get tons of bombs, like ridiculous amounts of bombs, like multiple ones popping out if you know how to optimize like those situations. And then of course you have the whole shield thing. I did do one run in special. I didn't have it recorded, but without even meaning to, I like did a no-hit run of special where like my shield didn't even vanish once, and so that was really cool. And that kind of just goes to show how approachable it is. Like, of course I was using everything I learned from original mode in special, and it's a lot easier when you have that kind of like a foundation. But yeah, anyway, that's that. I really appreciate everybody who popped by to check this out. It would have been more jam-packed had I not already done one or two chats where I covered a whole bunch of these details and parts of the experience, but I'm trusting this was enjoyable enough for everybody who decided to pop by. So yeah, thank you so much for checking this out. Have a stellar one. I will probably just let this roll now, or just trim it off or whatever. But yeah, thanks again. Have an awesome one, and we will see you next time.